Hello, hello, here we go, it's the Kopite Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Kopite Podcast. I am Jay Pearson and today it's a bit of a special episode for you because I'm going to be talking about the new partnership between Liverpool Football Club and the American sportswear giant Nike. And it's an amazing new era for the club that we're about to go into. We are the newly crowned Premier League champions, which is fantastic to say, as well as being world champions, as well as being European champions. It's been a fantastic 13 months for the club. But we are going to be going into a new era now under Nike, and it is such a special partnership for us, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail for you. Not in terms of like the ins and outs of the deal, because that's sort of the boring, not interesting stuff really. I want to share with you guys my thoughts on what the brand of Nike can do for Liverpool and what Liverpool can do for Nike as well, and the places it can take us. But before we go forwards, we've got to go backwards. So as a child growing up, you're sort of on the playground, swapping stickers, got, need, arguing over whose team was better. It was fun, and it was a daily occurrence that happened on most British playgrounds. And other discussions included who's got the best trainers, who's got the best trackie when you come in on Own Clothes Day, and a lot of people on Own Clothes Day, they wore football shirts. I certainly did that growing up. But before we get into the football shirt part of things, speaking of brands, where I grew up, if you came into school and you wore, a pair of Gola trainers or a pair of high-tech trainers or Lecoq Sportif or, any of the brands that weren't deemed cool, you're sort of known as a bit of a scruff. But if you came in a pair of Nike trainers or Adidas trainers or Puma or Umbro, footy boots or whatever, then you were a bit of a cool kid, to be fair, and you were more likely to be picked first at footy. I only ever got picked because I was left-footed. I was one of the few left-footed people, so because it's all playground crap really, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you're wearing. But the reason why I mention this is because those childlike discussions they keep happening. And it's all about brands and brand perception of who's wearing what, and it goes from the high end of fashion to low end of fashion, and it stems in football as well. But like I said, no doubt you remember two kids on the playground arguing, saying my team's better than your team's better than my team, and you were sort of judged on which manufacturer your kit was on. So like I said, I grew up in the 90s where Liverpool weren't the best football team at all, and we were made by Reebok, and this is no disrespect to Reebok, I think Reebok are a fantastic brand, but where I grew up, it was sort of like, oh, your kits are made by Reebok, because it wasn't that popular where I was, and it was Nike or Adidas, which was the more popular brand. So you were sort of like, oh, your team's shit because you're made by Reebok, and it was sort of like, it was a crap argument, but that's kids for you, isn't it? That's what happens. But let's look at it this way. Nike have always been that cool premium brand, haven't they? They are the biggest sportswear brand in the world for a reason, because they've got that association with all the top brands. Now, Manchester United dominated English football in the 90s under the moniker of Umbro. They did really, really well with it. Arsenal had a period of dominance under Nike. Now, once Manchester United won the treble in 1999, there was talks of Nike going to come in and really take Manchester United even further than where they were going straight away. So in 2001 they did partner with Nike, and they went on a global dominance under Sir Alex, not just on the pitch but off the pitch as well financially. But other clubs have followed suit with Nike as well, haven't they? Manchester City, I've had the partnership with them as well. Umbro have been under the Nike umbrella, so they were Umbro first, and then they moved into Nike, and now they've just signed a massive deal with Puma. But like I said, being born in 1985 and growing up in the 90s was tough from a football perspective, because Liverpool, they were winning the odd trophy. They, FA Cup in 92, and then League Cup in 95, and then we didn't really see anything then till 2001. But Reebok made some fantastic kits, and I absolutely loved the 96 Crew away shirt. That is one of my favourite, if not my favourite away shirt that Liverpool have ever produced. So Nike, if anybody from Nike is watching, please just make a version of that for me. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me, but I would love Nike to make a throwback version of that away kit. But even when our kits were being made by Reebok and they were coming out with some classics like that, I still wanted Nike. I still wanted that premium brand on my shirt, because they were one of my favourite brands, and they were the biggest, and that's where you want to associate yourself with, the biggest brands. So Manchester United were top of the food chain, if you like, in football terms, both on and off the field. But if I could change one thing, I'd go back to our title winning days of 1990. We won our 18th, and I would speak to Liverpool's owners and the chief executives and say, listen, what we need to do here, Mr. Robinson, is we need to capitalise on the dominance that you've just had, because we're going to be going into commercially a completely different juggernaut, obviously with Sky, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you need to market that liver bird and get it on absolutely everything. Get it on polo shirts, jackets, trackies, trainers, put it on dog balls, put it on dog leaves, put it on women's knickers, just get it everywhere, because that's exactly what Manchester United did. There's a fantastic book called The Club, and it tells you about the history of the Premier League and how it started, and it talks about those details, of how Liverpool just fell asleep, and that's exactly what Manchester United did. They marketed the club really, really well. Sky came in, it was a match made in heaven, and United just shot up, unfortunately for us. But their football in recent history would keep them there as well, because they just kept winning and winning, and winning breeds winning. But with the development of the Premier League and Sky just injecting a fortune into it, Liverpool sadly were left behind, weren't they? United capitalised on branded themselves everywhere. They put the badge on every piece of merchandise, and the rest is history. But some of my best memories were wearing Reebok shirts. I mean, the gold and blue shirt of 2001, the Michael Owen FA Cup final, the treble winning season. There's some fantastic memories in those shirts, and those shirts are iconic for a reason, because we've won things in them. And then, of course, there's Istanbul. 2005, won the European Cup, our 5th European Cup. The miracle of Istanbul was won under the Reebok moniker, and that will forever, ever be etched. And people will look at that jersey or shirt, look at me getting all American already. People will look at that shirt and go, yeah, that was the year we won the Champions League in 2005. And yeah, we became European champions in 2005, and we began to be a bigger force in Europe. Winning breeds winning. You get a bigger transfer budget. You've got to pump more money into the club from sponsorships. You get bigger players. Fernando Torres arrives. All that type of stuff. But by the time Torres arrived, our old friends from Germany had reappeared. Adidas were back with Liverpool, and the team was getting better. Between 2007 and 2010, we were a force again in Europe. And to be fair, in Athens, we were very, very unlucky not to add a second Champions League in 3 years. And again, 08-09, we were unlucky not to add a Premier League crown to it. And again, that was all under the Adidas moniker. It did very, very well. Cue the Roy Hodgson era. And the decline was sharp, and Adidas thought, nope, this isn't for us, we're off. Underachievement on the pitch led to the German Giants terminating the contract early. Say what you want, that's exactly what happened. And I know people have been clamouring for us to go back with Adidas instead of Nike, because Adidas have made some fantastic kits, and let's face it, some of our bestest memories ever of our history were in Adidas kits, and Adidas trainers are arguably the best trainers in the world. But actually, I got the quote here from the CEO of Adidas at the time, and he branded Liverpool a failure, and we thought what Liverpool were asking at the time in terms of money and what they were delivering was not in the right balance. Now, okay, he has a fair point, but at that time, Real Madrid, Manchester United and Barcelona were the only 3 clubs that were outselling Liverpool in terms of replica shirts. So wonders, well, why was that such an issue for Adidas? Because they probably didn't want to be associated with it because we were so poor off the pitch. So Adidas go, and then Warrior come in 2012, and people are going, who are Warrior? Not got a clue who they are. They make lacrosse stuff in America when you do your research. Okay, great, who are they? And they come out with a bit of a belter of a first home kit that, it's all plain red, just the yellow logos, and that was it, and it looked really good. And that was our first set of kits under Brendan Rodgers, and it was And the playground insults were still there, but they were now on Twitter, where he's going, haha, you're a Warrior, you're made by a Warrior, you're still shit Liverpool, you don't do anything on the pitch, and you're definitely not going to do anything off the pitch with Warrior. So the problem is that Warrior paid double what Adidas paid, and that's the fascinating thing, what people don't know about. I think because it was Warrior, they weren't associated massively in the UK. That was the stigma behind it, was you were Warrior. But then obviously when it was changed to New Balance, when they were bought out, that sort of made it a little bit easier for Liverpool and fans to recognise, because New Balance were a much more recognisable brand. Now, before we move on to the New Balance stuff, just want to touch on 13-14 season, when we were still under the moniker of Warrior. The club stock had risen massively after that season, and Brendan Rodgers had obviously taken us on the verge of winning the first title in 20 odd years. But that was recognised worldwide, because a lot of other stuff started flooding in, particularly for the players in terms of sponsorship deals and all that sort of stuff, and the club was getting recognised a lot more. It was no surprise that Jordan Henderson was up for the FIFA cover star. Okay, yeah, the vote might have been overtaken by a lot of Liverpool fans, but I mean, at the end of the day, if EA Sports wanted to put somebody else on that cover, they would have done it anyway. But Jordan Henderson was an option, and he was voted in, whether people agreed with it or not. And then obviously we were officially licensed to Pro Evo. Whether you're FIFA or Pro Evo doesn't really matter. But the whole point is, now that Liverpool won the European Cup last year, we've now got a bigger partnership with EA Sports. We're back with the biggest brand especially in terms of football games. We're now back with those guys now, and we've got a long-standing contract with them. And Big Verge is now on the cover of FIFA 20. Who knows who's going to be on the cover of FIFA 21 in each region? We don't know that. Could it be Jordan Henderson again? We don't know. But this is what I'm saying, is winning breeds those bigger brands. And these aren't coincidences, you know what I mean? They're not something, that's just happened. This has been very, very well planned and thought of. But because Liverpool are now world, European and English champions, that's some statement that New Balance can be on cloud nine about. Because New Balance now are associated with some fantastic memories for us, and that is something that we'll always cherish again. The influence of the Bob Paisley shirt in the 80s is now synonymous with us lifting the Premier League trophy. Again, we can't really forget about the amazing marketing tool, and probably arguably the most important marketing tool that Liverpool possess, and that's Jurgen Klopp. I mean, when he was brought in 2015, New Balance must have been rubbing their hands going, get in. This is a guy who we know about, we know what he's like on the pitch, we know what he's like off the field, we know what he's like in interviews. This guy is marketable. And straight away with his touchline antics, wearing his Liverpool cap with the New Balance logo on, interviews before the match, after the match, swearing, everything that made YouTube hits grow, and everything that made Klopp more of a Googled name. And New Balance were rubbing their hands, and Nike are definitely doing that as well, because at the end of the day, Nike are going to put Liverpool in places they've never ever been before commercially, and Klopp will be at the forefront of that once again. We are moving into a new era with Nike now, and like I said, we've seen the leaked kits, we've seen the kits that are in the shops right now. If you're watching this video afterwards anyway. But Nike have made some fantastic shirts around the globe for years. Okay, they don't always get it right. I don't think any brand gets it right every single time, every single season. But they've made some great shirts. I mean, I'm wearing one right now. This is one of my favourite shirts of the last few years that Nike have made. It's classic, it's retro, it's really, really cool. And I think that's what they really need to do with Liverpool, because we love a retro shirt. And I think we've got some really cool past designs that they can really latch on to. But one of the great things about what Nike have done is the way they partnership uniquely with a football club. Now, let's look at PSG. PSG have that partnership with Nike, where they've got the Jumpman logo as well, which is obviously made famous by Michael Jordan. And that is such a clever marketing tool as well, because Michael Jordan and the Jumpman is a massive, massive brand. There's lots of people out there that don't watch basketball yet. They've never watched it, but they know who Michael Jordan is, and they know that logo. And that is now synonymous with a lot of PSG apparel in their tracksuits, their jumpers, their polos, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And that is something that we can look forward to. Not necessarily with the Jumpman logo, but Nike know what they're doing, and so do our owners, but that's increased PSG's brand now. And the most important thing about that, as well as being successful on the pitch, they obviously need to be successful in Europe, and all that sort of stuff. They're a massive success domestically. But it's been very clever of PSG and Nike to use the Jumpman logo in a lot of their apparel, because it looks great. The caps look great. You see Neymar and Mbappe wearing them, the tracksuits, the polos. You see a lot of people around the UK wearing that type of stuff because, one, they like Nike. Two, they love Jordan stuff, Jordans, or the Jumpman logo is very, very popular. So it's been very, very clever. So Nike know what they're doing when it comes to pairing up brands with each other and marketing certain things that will work. But there's another basketball player that we need to talk about, and that's LeBron James. Everybody knows who LeBron James is, one of the greatest basketball players that's ever lived, and he's still going strong, and God knows what else he can achieve in his career. But for those of you that didn't know, LeBron James has actually owned a stake in Liverpool. Very small stake, but he's owned a stake in Liverpool for nearly 10 years now. And again, it's not a coincidence. This is all falling into place. So I'm not saying that we will have association with the Jumpman logo, but you can guarantee that Liverpool will bring out some apparel that has got an affiliate with LeBron James and his branding. And Nike have done a fantastic job of getting on these major names onto their brand. So expect to see us interacting with Roger Federer more, probably Serena Williams, probably Tiger Woods, definitely LeBron James. There's so many famous names out there that Nike are associated with, which can bring in the Liverpool brand into different markets, into different eras, but also as well, it will sort of cross the Liverpool brand into different territories that we've never been before, and that's what Nike will do. So don't be surprised if you do see LeBron James stuff popping up in the club shop and on their website. If I mention the names Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, a lot of those names might just go over people's heads and not know who they are, which is fair enough because they're all baseball players. Not a very popular sport over here in the UK, but those names are quite popular, but they are even more popular with the brand they are synonymous with, which is the New York Yankees. Now, again, people might not be a massive fan of baseball, but I guarantee most people in the English-speaking world have worn a New York Yankees piece of clothing. 9 times out of 10, it's one of the hats, but the Yankees logo has been plastered all over trackies, hoodies, everything over the years, and I guarantee people have worn them as well. And the famous NY logo of the New York Yankees has been a global brand all on its own, and it has been for years and years and years, and that's what FSG, Nike and Liverpool are here to do. They want to make the global brand of Liverpool synonymous on its own. Partnering with Nike is just the start for Liverpool and their journey, and the aim of it now is that Nike are going to put Liverpool in places they've never been before commercially. We're going to go into markets that the club has never been into. We're probably never going to see a kit out of stock again because Nike have just got that global reach, and they've got the powerhouse behind them to meet demand in terms of replica shirts. It will all come back into the club because all this commercial stuff will go back into the club. And I think that's so important for us if we want to move forward. We've just won the Premier League. We're European champions at the minute. We're world champions at the minute. We want to continue to win those trophies. And obviously, it's investment into the team because that's what everybody wants, is to invest into the squad and make us better every single year. Whether that's with new transfers, whether that's bringing up the youth, that's making Anfield even bigger so we can get more people into the stands. A better training ground, which is obviously about to open, maybe expansion on that as well. But like I said before, when you go back to October 2010 and the club was on brink of administration, it certainly makes you appreciate where we are right now, both on the pitch and off the pitch. Like I said before, we've just had a fantastic 13 months of the trophies that we've won, and we're going into this new era with Nike now where we are European, world and English champions, and it certainly is one of the most exciting times for us, and especially being partnered with the biggest sportswear brand in the world. It's a very, very exciting time, and I think that's what's really, really important, is that this circle now, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to fall off that cliff, if you like. Obviously praying that never happens again, because we are Premier League, world and European champions, which just sounds amazing to say. I can't see it happening, especially under the guidance of Nike and FSG and what our owners have done for us so far and stuff. But like I said, people have their own opinions of what FSG have done for us, but you can't argue with the journey that they've put us on. And yes, Jurgen Klopp is a massive part of that, arguably the biggest influence that anybody will ever have on our club, especially in this era. Shanks and Paisley did that anyway, and Klopp is basically, history is repeating itself right now. But to go into this new era with Nike now and partner with the biggest sportswear brand in the world is absolutely fantastic for the club, and we're all excited to see what kits they're going to launch. We're all excited to see where the club's going to go in the next couple of years, and yeah, hopefully we can add a lot more silverware under Nike. And yeah, I'm just really excited, and finally my playground dreams and aspirations of being made by Nike are coming true, and who knows what other kits I'm going to be putting on these walls and what memories we're going to make under Nike. Hopefully more Premier League titles, more European Cups with the Nike tick or swoosh on our shirts. So that's it. That's the journey that I wanted to take us on. Hopefully if you like this video, give it a like. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Nike deal. Let me know what you think of the kits now that they're out. Obviously if you depend on the time of when you watch this video. Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about the Nike deal and how important it is to you, and where you think the club can go under Nike, and what are you most excited for? You know, that's what I want to know. Is it just because we're branded with Nike? Is it the new kits that might come up, or is it obviously the commercial ideas behind it? Just let us know in the comments, and give us a like, subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you next time.